Good morning. I'm Reverend Kim, and I serve as minister for UUFN. My pronouns are she and her. It is so good to see all of you here this morning, and that includes everyone on Zoom. And hello to members and friends of UUCD. Welcome on this Easter morning to this place of renewal and hope. Here we welcome your tender places and your yearnings to be fully present. Welcome to this place of meaning and belonging. Here we welcome your questions and wonderings on the journey toward wholeness. Welcome to this place of compassion and heart. Here we welcome you, all of you, and we invite you in as you are. Here we welcome you to renew your connection to the spirit of life, to renew your relationship with the sacred, the interdependent web of all existence, to renew your connection with your own sweet spirit. On this Easter morning, come, let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting is by Dillman Baker Sorrells, adapted. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember our past, to plan for our future, to be alive in our present. We light this flaming chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. The Promise of Easter by Eugene B. Navius, adapted. Who is to say what Easter is, what we should celebrate this day and sing for joy? Easter's promises, remembered and fulfilled, of death and life and all that lies therein. It is the promise of the planets in their turn, the infinite fidelity of stars and suns and seasons. Easter is winter promising to spring, that earth shall yield to death, from death to life itself. It is the growth promise of the dormant seed, the barren meadow, and the naked bough. It is the birth promise of all creatures which have life and breath and being. Easter is ancient sorrows stilled and hopes remembered. It is the memory of Jesus dying in Jerusalem. It is the promise that the heart shall be reborn as hatred dies and love is given birth. It is the promise that the mind and spirit shall be renewed as ignorance is lost to newfound truth. Easter is the promise to everyone who journeys from the depths of judgment and certainty to the life of understanding. Easter is a promise to everyone who casts away the errors of the darkness to dwell within the light. Easter is of earthly promises and human hopes that make the human heart forever young. Easter is a song of life which springs from death, a joyous human song forever. Hallelujah sung.
When I was about 8 years old, our family moved from a small ranch house to a larger two-story English Tudor-style house in an older neighborhood. And in the front yard, there were a couple of big trees, and they were big old sugar maple trees. And one of them was right outside my second-story bedroom window. In fact, the branches of that one tree were just inches from that window. So the first thing I saw each morning were those branches as they progressed through the seasons, from little red buds to those whirligig seeds, from green summer leaves to the fall. Sugar maples have these brilliant, like orange and yellow and red leaves. So then they all fell, and then there were these months of the cold winter and these gnarled gray fingers just kind of waving in the wind. You can just picture it, right? And then finally, the return of life. Now, every year, the little tiny red maple flowers appeared, and it always caught me by surprise. 1 minute, it seemed like 1 minute nothing, and then another minute, and there they were. The tree branches were barren for months. The cold weather was still holding on and creeping through those old windows, and suddenly it seemed there those flowers were. They were one of the first signs of spring. So one morning in late winter, when I was about 11, I decided to keep a journal of the development of those flowers. I wanted to see how they went from tiny buds to little blooming flowers. I wanted to note every detail as they changed day by day. I don't know where I got this idea. I knew almost nothing about botany or the morphology of flowers, but that didn't stop me. I got a little notebook, and every day I'd make an entry with the date, first describing the buds and then how they swelled and gradually opened. It didn't happen as suddenly as I thought. And finally, the appearance of the little red flowers and their minute parts. I felt as though I had witnessed something very special and somehow secret, something that happened every year, but that I'd never really seen, and probably a lot of other people hadn't either. It was one of the countless changes of spring, a small thing, yet it seemed somehow miraculous all the same. And although I couldn't name the feeling at the time, what it was an experience of wonder. Our spirits respond to this change in the seasons. I think it has to do with the fact that we've evolved on the earth over many thousands of years. Our body's rhythms and our senses respond to the lengthening of the days, to the signs of life all around us. Signs which begin, so slowly, right? And then they multiply until the earth seems to be humming and whirring, shouting, life, life, right about now. Spring is like a symphony that, starts off very gently and modestly and builds to a stirring crescendo. And then it fills us with this glorious excess and drama. I think most of us know how that feels. It's a hard thing to convey in words, but a number of writers have tried. D.H. Lawrence says that spring bursts up in bonfires green with wild puffing of emerald trees and flame-filled bushes, a blaze of growing. Louis Untermeyer exclaims, I never knew the earth had so much gold. The fields run over with it, and this hill, hoary and old, is young with buoyant blooms that flame and thrill. Easter can be a time for us to look into the face of the mystery and miracle of life all around us. A time to look into the face of the mystery and miracle, too, of the beating of our own hearts, the drawing of our own breath, these human constants which remind us of our own aliveness. As we look into the face of the mysteries and the miracles of life and the nature of the earth, we're reminded that we're part of it all, and we can experience wonder. As the seasons turn at Easter time, we celebrate the renewal of the natural world. This can be a time of renewing our relationship with nature and the earth. I'm part scientist and naturalist and part spiritual seeker. I retain some of that child version of myself, the one who experienced the wonder of spring in maple flowers. For me, immersing myself in the natural world at this time of year, whether it's by studying a flower or simply being in nature, it opens a way that connects me to the spirit of life, to the spirit of the earth, and to the universe. And so, too, to the joy and wonder of the moment and the miracles all around me and within me. We know that in the Christian tradition, Easter is a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus after he was killed on the cross by the Romans. The Christian bishops, when they gathered in the early 4th century to standardize Christian practices, were wise in their decision to set the celebration of Jesus' resurrection in the springtime. In most places in the world, people have always held festivals and practiced rituals marking the spring season. It's a very real impulse in our human bodies and spirits. It's something that seems to be in our bones, in our veins, in our very cells. Especially in earlier times when we lived close to the land and were always attuned to the rhythms of nature, people have celebrated this time of year when life seems to revive after the dead and dormant winter season. Shepherds welcomed new lambs in spring, and farmers plowed the ground and planted seed. All around, people saw testaments to the renewal of life as birds nested, trees leafed out, and flowers bloomed again. And because early people recognized their dependence on nature, they celebrated with their gods and goddesses. They incorporated sacred symbols of new life like seeds, flowers, eggs, and of course, rabbits. They honored the resurrection of life, and it gave them the sense of victory over death. Ancient Near East cultures all had stories and rituals that revolved around the theme of death and the bringing back of life. So, after Jesus was crucified, it seemed to his followers that if he was the Son of God, then surely some of the gods of the nature religions, like some of the gods of the nature religions around them, then he could rise again and have eternal life. Not long after the bishops set the timing of what they called Resurrection Sunday, Christianity was declared the official religion throughout Western Europe. Most Anglo-Saxons celebrated the spring festival of the goddess of the dawn, Estra. The Christian leaders in power converted the worship of Estra into a sunrise service, with the sun symbolizing Christ instead of the dancing goddess of the dawn. It seems that the name Easter comes from the name of this pagan goddess. So, Easter is a multi-layered holiday with multi-layered meanings for us. It's a Christian holiday and celebrated that way for those of us who find meaning in Christian roots and in some of the rituals and traditions of Easter. For some of us, it's a time of spring pagan celebrations. And for many of us, we incorporate some of the pagan symbols like eggs and bunnies. For many of us, too, it's a time of immersing ourselves in the renewal of life on earth. With the winter finally yielding to spring, and with many of us tired of shivering and bundling up, it's no wonder that we might be more than ready to rejoice in spring's lavish show and to bask in some warmer temperatures, too. And not just on Easter, but during this season in general, we're invited into wonder. Like joy, wonder is an essential component of our spiritual and mental well-being. So I invite you to drink it in as much as possible. Take wonder walks and see what wonders of nature you can find. If you're less able to walk these days, go for a drive or invite someone to take you and Enjoy what you see together. Pick flowers and keep a vase full on your table or desk where you can appreciate them up close. This Easter time also invites us to renew ourselves, to renew our own spirits, just as this spring renewal is taking place all around us. What is it in your own life that you feel ready to renew? Maybe it's something that's lain dormant or something that's just beginning to be born. Is there something enjoyable you've been meaning to do for yourself, or a new direction you've been wanting to explore? Is there an intention that you might set for yourself, like a commitment to find more joy and wonder, or to practice patience, or practice gratitude? To me, Easter's also an invitation to pause and reflect on the spirit of love that Jesus spoke so much about. Jesus taught his followers to love your neighbor as yourself and to love our enemies. Such simple statements, but so powerful and so challenging. So my intention is to continue to challenge myself, to grow in my ability to find compassion for all people, including myself. Whatever your personal renewal looks like, I hope that we'll each be inspired to pause and consider ways that we can open our hearts to the companions on our life's journey, to renew and expand our heart's capacity for love and care, because that's what the world needs, and it's what we need too. The impulse toward life that we see and hear all around us at this time of year is the power of the universe. It's the power of creation. It's the spirit of life and love. And this power is within us too. It's the power of love that saves us from bitterness of the heart, from cynicism, from hopelessness. It's the power of love that connects us to all that is, to each other, to all life, to the earth, and to the universe. It's the power of love that leads us to a place of peace and equanimity and wonder and joy. That's what a spiritual renewal is all about. And this is what I invite you into this morning. Kenneth Patton, who was my minister when I was very young, too young to appreciate who he was. He was a brilliant humanist, and according to another of my esteemed colleagues, David Bumbaugh, Kenneth Patton was one of Unitarian Universalism's most important influences in the 20th century. Reverend Bumbaugh explains it was he who taught a monotone rationalism how to sing. It was he who taught a stumble-footed humanism how to dance. It was he who cried, "Look," and taught our eyes to see the glory in the ordinary. So I had a strange experience the other day. I have a collection of Patton's writings. Earlier this week, I was looking for readings for this service, so I do that sometimes, and I just sort of, browse through, and I stumbled upon a reading in his book that really startled me. I felt I had recognized a kindred spirit. It was more than that, but I can't even explain it. And I got chills as I recognized the parallel to my own experience as a young child looking out my window at the maple tree branches and the way they waved in the winter wind. Okay, so here's the first line. One windy afternoon in late winter, I looked out of a second floor window into the upper branches of trees. This reading, out of 100 readings in the book. He goes on. And remember what David Bumbaugh just said about his writing. Life was immense in the trees, my sense of life as vast as fear. I was the twisting branches, the flow of power to the branchlets, to rootlets in the frozen earth. The tree's life was the life in me, sap flowing as blood flows. Trees, leaves growing as hair grows, trees breathing as I breathe. I knew the trees through the sense of life. And there is that sense of wonder. He saw what I had seen and felt what I had felt, but couldn't express it. Through the sense of life, the spirit of life, we know the trees, we know nature, we know earth, and we know ourselves. Patton says, having earth and one another, we are thus blessed with all blessedness. On this Easter day, may you be blessed with joy and wonder and with all blessedness. May it be so.